Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Health Talks, the podcast where we dive deep into health topics that matter to you. I'm Matthew, and joining me today is Mary. How are you, Mary?
Hi, Matthew. I'm doing great, and I'm excited about today's topic. We'll be discussing something that affects a lot of people, hair loss.
That's right. Hair loss is more common than many realize, and there are so many factors at play. Let's start with genetics. Mary, can you explain how genetics influence hair loss for men and women?
Sure. For men, hair loss is often linked to a gene on the X chromosome, which they inherit from their mother. So, if a man wants to predict his chances of going bald, he should look at the hair loss patterns of his mother's brothers.
That's fascinating. What about women?
Women are less likely to experience significant hair loss because they have two X chromosomes, which can reduce the impact of the hair loss gene. However, as they age, women may notice thinning hair, especially after the age of 45.
Speaking of age, let's talk about the timeline of hair loss. When does it usually start for men and women?
For men, hair loss often begins around age 30. Women, on the other hand, typically notice thinning hair starting at about 45. But it's important to note that hair loss is a natural process that continues throughout life.
That's true. Over time, hair follicles can degenerate, which reduces the number of hairs on the scalp. But genetics isn't the only factor, right?
Correct. Hair loss can also be caused by hormonal imbalances, nutritional deficiencies like a lack of biotin or iron, certain medical conditions, or even environmental factors.
And once a hair follicle dies, it's gone for good, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes. If a hair follicle is no longer active, it can't produce new hair. That's why early intervention is so important.
Let's move on to treatment options. What are some of the methods people can try to combat hair loss?
There are several options, starting with topical treatments like minoxidil. It helps improve blood flow to the hair follicles. Some people also use it with steroid creams to reduce scalp inflammation.
And there are oral medications as well, right?
Yes, there are medications like spironolactone, which blocks androgens, the hormones that can damage hair follicles. Supplements like biotin and iron can also support hair health.
I've also heard about PRP, or platelet-rich plasma therapy. Can you explain how that works?
Sure. PRP involves taking a patient's blood, isolating the platelet-rich plasma, and injecting it into the scalp. This stimulates the remaining active follicles and nourishes the scalp, encouraging hair growth.
And then there's hair transplant surgery, which seems to be a more permanent solution.
Hair transplants involve taking healthy hair follicles from areas like the back of the scalp and implanting them in the balding areas. However, even transplanted hair will eventually go through the natural hair cycle and may thin over time.
So, it sounds like combining multiple methods might be the most effective approach.
Absolutely. Using topical treatments, oral medications, and PRP together can yield the best results. Hair transplantation is typically a last resort for more severe cases.
But no treatment can completely stop hair loss, right?
That's correct. Most treatments work by supporting existing hair follicles. They can't revive dead follicles or create new ones.
That's a good point. So, we should be cautious about products that claim to regrow new hair, as they often exaggerate their effectiveness.
Exactly. The key is understanding what's realistic and focusing on maintaining the health of the hair you still have.
Well, that was an insightful discussion, Mary. Thank you for breaking it all down so clearly.
My pleasure, Matthew. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. If you have questions about hair loss or want us to cover other health topics, feel free to reach out.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and your hair.
Vocabulary words with definitions and examples. 1. 1. Genetics, the study of heredity and inherited traits. Example, genetics play a significant role in determining the likelihood of hair loss. 2. X chromosome, one of the two sex chromosomes that carry genetic information. Example, the gene for male pattern baldness is often linked to the X chromosome. 3. Follicle, a small sac in the skin from which hair grows. Example, healthy follicles are essential for maintaining thick hair. 4. Hormonal imbalance, a condition where hormone levels are not within normal ranges. Example, hormonal imbalances can cause hair thinning and other health issues. 5. Nutritional deficiency, a lack of essential nutrients needed for good health. Example, iron deficiency can lead to hair loss and brittle nails. 6. Inflammation, swelling, and irritation caused by the body's immune response. Example, scalp inflammation can damage hair follicles over time. 7. Androgens, male hormones, such as testosterone, that influence hair growth. Example, excess androgens can contribute to hair loss in both men and women. 8. PRP, platelet-rich plasma, a treatment that uses blood plasma to promote healing and hair growth. Example, PRP therapy can stimulate hair regrowth in areas with thinning hair. 9. Hair transplant, a surgical procedure to move hair from one part of the scalp to another. Example, a hair transplant is often a last resort for people with severe hair loss. 10. Realistic, practical, and reasonable expectations or goals. Example, it's important to have realistic expectations when starting hair loss treatments. 11. Exaggerate, to overstate or represent something as better or worse than it is. Example, many advertisements exaggerate the effectiveness of hair regrowth products. 12. Maintain, to keep something in good condition or continue its current state. Example, using treatments consistently can help maintain the health of your hair. 13. Intervention, action taken to improve a condition or prevent a problem. Example, early intervention can slow down the progression of hair loss. 14. Thinning hair that becomes less dense over time. Example, thinning hair is often a natural part of aging for many people. 15. Dead follicle, a hair follicle that no longer produces hair. Example, once a follicle is dead, it cannot be revived. Phrases with definitions and examples from the podcast Understanding Hair Loss, Causes, Myths, and Solutions. 1. Dive deep into, to explore a subject thoroughly and in detail. Example, in today's podcast, we'll dive deep into the causes of hair loss. 2. Hair loss patterns, the specific way hair thins or falls out over time. Example, male hair loss patterns often start with a receding hairline. 3. Topical treatment, a remedy applied directly to the skin or affected area. Example, minoxidil is a common topical treatment for hair regrowth. 4. Natural hair cycle, the regular phases of hair growth, rest, and shedding. Example, even transplanted hair follows the natural hair cycle. 5. Environmental factors, external elements like pollution or climate that affect health. Example, prolonged exposure to environmental factors like UV rays can weaken hair. 6. support existing hair follicles to maintain the health and function of active hair follicles. Example, most treatments focus on supporting existing hair follicles rather than creating new ones. 7. Combining multiple methods using more than one approach to achieve better results. Example, combining multiple methods, such as medication and PRP, can improve hair growth outcomes. 8. Focus on maintaining to prioritize keeping something in good condition. Example, people experiencing hair loss should focus on maintaining the health of their remaining hair. 9. Key is understanding the most important aspect is having proper knowledge. Example, the key is understanding the limitations of hair loss treatments. 10. Cautious about products, being careful and skeptical about claims made by products. Example, it's wise to be cautious about products that promise to regrow hair overnight.